nationalists, black nationalists, as they were being called, for want of a cultural identification. You know, there are a lot of nationalists. Nationalists are people who simply believe in that they are in a particular nation which they're proud of, and they'll do what they can to protect it, love it, and identify with it. So, and generally it's about land. You have a land of your own. And so, but when I went to New York out of military experience I had, I happened to live in Harlem, and where Brother Malcolm was. I happened to live in Bed-Stuy, as the comedians always call it, in Brooklyn, which is the black section. The most unique thing about that, Brother Tulu, was that the cultures were so mixed, not just black and white. It was Africans, it was Caribbean people, it was people from all over Asia, which there are Africans here, and South America, and Africa itself. And if you walk down the street, you hear about 10 languages after you go maybe about a half a block. So it is a wonderful mixture of people that you get a chance to associate with. So I went to Brooklyn College, where Al Sharpton went to the notorious Al Sharpton, and Dr. John Hope Franklin was teaching there. And he's the one who wrote about Black Wall Street, as you heard about Wall Street area in what happened in Oklahoma this week. So there was so much mixing of the cultures, and that led to something like John Puffy Combs, a Harlem boy with J-Lo from East Harlem, Rollins from Spanish Harlem, as they call it, Puerto Rico. And you see what's going on in Puerto Rico now. They're taking that country back as a possession, and the Congress are running it just like they were running Washington, D.C. Now, why am I telling you that? When I come back to Memphis, it's black and white. It's two colors. Now, of course, it's really more than that. You got white Italian, which we used to call Dagos, and I come out of South Memphis, Louisville, on Kansas, that area, and that was all farm area. They were farming. And then, of course, you had Irish, and you have Scottish, and they are different because they're from different countries. And therefore, they are too, in some sense, nationalists. We're nationalists because we want to find a way to have our own self-determination, as it's called. In other words, we want to be free, Brother Talu, to break that, what do you call it, constructive, well, I call it destructive conformity. We want to break that if we can. You know? And the point is, so I chose this area, and because people were leaving. This used to be called Payless Justo. The fish man, he may be Italian, he might have been Jewish, he was next door. So he left, and everybody was leaving from this area, and his foreign brother Malcolm, I used to stand on the corner in front of the Hotel Teresa, where the former Attorney General, I can't think, Eric Holder's father used to run the Hotel Teresa. But in front, he's another Harlem boy. But the reason I'm telling you this is that people were leaving. And so I chose this area. There were two streets in Memphis, as far as I was concerned, that fit what I needed. North and south was especially either Third or Airway. That's about what you had in the black community. Or you could go from east to west, Parkway, and you come down to Brooks Road or something like that, or maybe, but of course that was white and going on. That we chose to be here, and we built here. I know the roof of this house, I know the walls of this house. I bought in a company called Zanzibar Import and Export. We were doing that because of what was going on, and when Tanzania and Zanzibar, off the coast of Kenya, where Obama is from, when they merged, and that was in the paper, so Zanzibar, and it was, of course, it was a fairly easy African name to pronounce, and so we became Zanzibar Import. When we got here, we carried, brother, claves, thumb pianos, congas, all drums from Africa, from the Caribbean. In other words, I had traveled before I came to Memphis, and basically what I was looking at is how to create, and this is to the subject of Sister Janaka, how do you create a nationalist institution? What are the ingredients do you put in four walls? And so we went 126 black newspapers in the country. They sold right here. We went in the Black Power days in the 60s, which is what I came out of. All of the publishing companies, from Freedom Ways, Black Scholar Publishing Company, what's her brother name? Don Lee's Publishing Company out of Detroit Press. Now I think probably the company, brother Baruti, not Baruti, but the brother in Florida, I'm trying to think of his name. Drum and Spear was one of the press, and there were several others. So this was the bookstore, in short. Then, of course, this was a record shop. We went into the record business. All of this was this little place. And we had carvings from Tahiti to Haiti, South Africa, and in other words, anytime some students came to Memphis State, going to Memphis State and went home, there was no Fed Express then, there was no UPS going direct. So they would just bring some stuff from home and bring it to us to sell. And it was very well accepted by the community, and I love this place. My brother, I mentioned him in a libation, brother Nate Shuck. My youngest brother had weathered the storm of Cambodia in the army, and Vietnam in the army. This is a little tough for me. But he came back here to die. He died at Airways in Lamar Shopping Center at a place called Skaggs Grocery. In Skaggs Pharmacy, he was beaten to death by a security guard and the police. The beating didn't just start today, young brothers. It's been going on. I come from 7 boys and 3 sisters, but my brothers are dead, all except one. There are some things that we need to talk about. How do we deal with self-defense, and how do we deal with that? He was a member of the Black Panther Party, and I came back to Memphis at the time to get him out of jail. And my other brother, the same situation. But the newspapers the next day read, man is electrocuted in a television. We're trying to fix the television. That's what they said about my brother. I still have that. There's a lot of things that I would like to show you all if I had the time and we had the equipment. It's not there for anybody's fault but mine. But we don't have the equipment to show you what this block looked like, which I was describing at the time. And then we have not only the before we moved in, and I'm not taking credit for it because Insurance people came in. McDonald's came in after us. AutoZone down the street came in. There was a host of businesses that developed from Kerr all the way up to the end of this block, which is the property that I personally own, believe it or not. I own the billboard up on the corner, the huge billboard that goes all the way across the intersection of Parkway and Elvis Presley, both sides. That is Danco's Products Company, which we morphed into from Zanzibar Imports because we were doing pretty good business and people, but we ran out of space, to make a long story short. And I could tell you a whole lot more about the forces, Brother Tulu, and that's what I think, incidentally, my educational background is that I have a degree in sociology, one of the ologies, which talks about group behavior and what makes them what they call cohesive, what makes them stick together, what makes them do the same thing over and over again, and what the things that you were describing, and I appreciate what you said as an engineer, because the differences in the various departments in a college, you got your engineering, which is your physical science, and then you got your social sciences, and unfortunately we got that kind of messed up right now because everybody thinks science is STEM. In other words, it's either computers, things, technology, physics, and so forth. But there's another science called social science, and they too are scientific. That's how our presidents are elected. That's how the media manipulates you to vote, think, do one way or another. That's social science. They didn't just come up with that. And they can make a group of people bow to whatever direction, by this, by that. Yeah. Anytime that they want to. It's just a question of how do you do the psychological part of it. That's called repeated repetition. Coke is it. Coke is it. Coke is it. It's the Pepsi. And that's all you hear all day long. And so that gets to you. And I see Brother Yahweh is in the house. And I do appreciate Brother Yahweh because you go back to the time that we were here in this particular building. And then when Stax came and opened up, Cunningham, I think, and some others that played the music for Stax would always come and order drums. And they wanted, and we had steel drums, of course, from the Caribbean, which they cut off the top of this big 55 yellow drum, and picked out notes on them, and they called it a steel band at the orchestra. But anyway, I don't want to get too far on that. I could go down memory lane a long time because we have rehabilitated at least 5 different locations on this block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1381, 1383, all the way to the corner. And I just saw my brother Withers come in. And Brother Withers, I hope you can find some of the pictures that your father took. Because it's important to document history and to let people know that what you're going through, or you're not the first to go through the misery or the struggle. The struggle continues, and it will continue, and it's necessary that it continue. The struggle is eternal between, and this is the sociology part of it, and I'll sit down. The struggle between groups and cultures is the stuff that wars are made out of. It starts on the level of the self, the individual. It starts within the family. If you take 2 people, you've got 2 different needs that's going to collide on a lot of things, even if they're in the same house, a husband and wife, a brother and a sister. That's the stuff that mom and dad is going to try to mediate and keep them from making too much trouble. But war, aggression, fights, all that stuff is natural. You got to have it because if you weren't aggressive, how could you go out there and get some food, climb a tree, find you a good-looking sister if you didn't have the aggressiveness to go out there and do it? These are natural phenomena, and don't think that somehow God has betrayed us or picked us to be cursed. No, we're not. It's a cultural decision of how religion is shared within that culture. And what is right for that group of people who live up in the mountains may not be right for that people who live down in the desert somewhere. So culture is important. And then I must also tell you that I'm a social worker. When you see me on the street, I know you see me out there, and I drive a hoopty, but I've made millions of dollars. Believe it or not, I have. And guess what? I made it for other people. And that was the whole point of it. What are you going to do with the money that you get? Got Oprah Winfrey. You've got to use it for something other than your own self-aggrandizement. And so where we are right now today, Sister Tanaki, is that Zanco Products, and this is what I want to announce, if I may. Zanco Products has morphed from, has gone to transform itself from Zanzibar Import and Export Company as a retailer, that is the store, then to a wholesaler, which we went up the street in 1894 at 1381 Elvis Presley, right at the corner. That was the Lowe's store there. We moved there as a wholesaler because we had about 240 some black-owned grocery stores buying from us. Not only in Memphis, Tennessee, we had stores in Nashville, in Jackson, Mississippi, and also we went ashore sometime as up the river. Really, you go up to Carruthersville and you come back down. And we could have gone further, but we were doing 200 miles radius. And right now, there's no reason why we can't expand. So what we're doing, and I'm announcing, and I hope you understand, that I don't have anything to pass out right now. A little time challenge because of the things that we had to do this week. But we're Zanco Products. You will hear it advertised as a co-op. And it's a co-op for two purposes. One, it's a co-op for the retailer. It's a co-op for any retailer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Those minutes go by fast. Okay.
Yes, they do.
Our brother Jimmy is going to be next. But Patrick, I just want you to know, because I know you have to get back to Mississippi. You'll be going after Jimmy. So now we'll have our brother Jimmy Johnson.